It was the early 1990s in the quiet suburbs of Fremont, California. A young woman named Lisa Aguilar believed she had found her happily ever after. She had just married Darren West in a beautiful, cozy ceremony. He was an aspiring professional golfer, and their life seemed nothing short of perfect. But behind the facade of marital bliss lay secrets that would soon shatter their world. Lisa, originally from San Diego, moved to Fremont to build a life with Darren. More specifically, they have moved because of his job, because in addition to being an aspiring golfer, Darren also worked at a local golf club. They shared dreams, laughter, and the anticipation of becoming parents. To everyone around them, they seemed like the golden couple, a marriage everyone wanted and envied. It seemed like it couldn't get any better, well, until it did. In 1992, at the age of 22, Lisa found out that she was pregnant. Finally, everything was falling into place and she couldn't wait to share the great news with her husband. Darren was happy. When he heard the news, he was all pumped up and excited, and like Lisa, seemed to believe that things could not possibly get any better. After all, he was being recognized for his talents, and his wife was pregnant with a baby they had always talked about. But as Lisa's pregnancy progressed, Darren's behavior began to change. Everybody gets cold feet thinking of big changes, but he was more drastic than most. Darren started becoming distant, spending more time away from home. The strain of impending fatherhood seemed to weigh heavily on him, but the truth was far darker. He kept telling Lisa that the only reason he was working more and spending more time at the club was that he wanted to take time off to help her out once the baby arrived. But you guessed it right. While Lisa carried their child, Darren embarked on an affair with Michelle Morris, a college-aged woman from his workplace. The affair deepened, and Darren's commitment to his family waned. Michelle demanded Darren choose between her and Lisa. I would never ever condone being the other woman, but Darren had told her over and over again that he and Lisa weren't even in love anymore, and they were already talking about splitting up and were just trying to work out the details. But after a while, Michelle found out that Lisa was actually pregnant with Darren's baby, which in turn put Darren on thin ice with her. The jig was up, and Darren didn't know what to do. Feeling trapped, Darren made a chilling decision. On October 5, 1992, Darren put on a gorilla mask and waited for Lisa to return home from a doctor's appointment. As she entered their apartment with her grocery bags, he attacked her with a torch before stabbing her over 50 times, including slashes to her throat. He left his 8.5-month pregnant wife and his unborn son for dead, believing she wouldn't survive the night. Miraculously, Lisa regained consciousness. Despite her severe injuries, she crawled to the phone and dialed 911 after making sure the intruder had left her apartment. Paramedics found her barely alive, her body covered in stab wounds, and rushed her to the hospital. Doctors fought to save both Lisa and her unborn child, and I'm happy to tell you that they both survived the brutal attack. Lisa's physical wounds were grave, but the emotional scars would last a lifetime. Initially, Lisa believed she had been attacked by a random intruder, a robbery gone wrong. But as detectives investigated, they uncovered evidence pointing to someone much closer to her. Detectives discovered that Darren was nowhere to be found at the time of the attack, even though he had told cops that he was at work. They even found traces of blood in his car and a receipt for the gorilla mask he had purchased to murder his pregnant wife and their baby. Further investigation revealed his affair with Michelle, which didn't do him any favors. But why would he be so careless in executing his sinister plan when he had such high hopes for his future with his young girlfriend? Chillingly, Darren was sure that Lisa wouldn't survive the attack and didn't even bother covering his tracks. The investigators arrested Darren early on in the investigation, but Lisa, being a kind-hearted woman who still thought their marriage was practically perfect, didn't believe the police. She insisted that Darren was being set up and there was no way that her loving husband would do this. After all, she believed nobody loved her more than he did, and she trusted no one more than she trusted him. She even went as far as telling people that Darren needed help and she had to do something for the father of her child. However, the evidence was overwhelming, and people closest to her tried to make her understand that no matter how sweet and kind Darren was while they were married, he was still a monster that was simply trying to erase her and her son and start a new life that was more convenient to him. Devastated by the betrayal, Lisa confronted Darren in prison. He claimed to have no memory of the attack, leaving Lisa to grapple with the horror of what had transpired. In June 1994, Darren was convicted of attempted murder. Lisa's brave testimony was instrumental in securing the conviction. However, before sentencing, Darren pled guilty, sparing Lisa the anguish of a prolonged trial. Over the years, Lisa attended 16 parole hearings, each time fighting to keep Darren behind bars. Her determination was unwavering, and Darren was denied parole 16 times. After the attack, Lisa moved in with her parents. The trauma made it difficult for her to bond with her surviving child, a constant reminder of the horrors she had endured. Seeking healing, Lisa underwent therapy and joined support groups for survivors of domestic violence. Slowly, she began to rebuild her life. Today, Lisa is a passionate advocate for domestic violence survivors. She uses her story to raise awareness and support others who have suffered in silence. Though the scars remain, Lisa continues to move forward, determined to live a life filled with purpose and hope. Lisa's story is a testament to the strength of the human spirit. It reminds us that even in the darkest times, there is a light that can guide us toward healing and justice. Today, all we know is that Lisa is in her 50s. She remarried and had 2 more kids. She, understandably, tries to keep a low profile. As for Darren, he was finally released in 2016 after 22 years behind bars. They say that love and hate are 2 sides of the same coin, that the very person who swears they would die for you can also become the one who tries to hurt you. And few stories illustrate that chilling duality better than the case of Darren West. At first glance, Darren was a man in love, devoted, charming, the picture of a committed partner. But beneath that surface, something dark and deeply disturbed was festering. The day he found out Lisa was pregnant was not a day of joy. For most people, news of a baby is a milestone. For Darren, it was the beginning of a nightmare. Not because of the child itself, but because of what it represented. Responsibility, commitment, change, and the terrifying feeling that his life was no longer his own. Darren wasn't ready to be a father, but more than that, he couldn't tolerate the idea of losing control. To him, fatherhood meant sacrifice, his freedom, his identity, his place at the center of Lisa's world. And for a man like Darren, whose self-worth depended on control and dominance, that was unacceptable. Narcissism was the silent driver of his every thought. People like Darren don't see relationships as partnerships, they see them as possessions. And Lisa, to him, wasn't a person with her own dreams and choices. She was something to be managed, molded, and controlled. And when she stepped outside that mold by becoming pregnant, when her body, her future, and her love suddenly extended beyond him, something inside him snapped. The pregnancy wasn't just a baby. In Darren's warped mind, it was a threat. A baby meant he would no longer be the center of her attention. A baby meant money, sleepless nights, and commitment. A baby meant the end of the life he knew. And Darren, like many perpetrators of intimate partner violence, had no capacity to adapt. Instead of confronting his fears, he turned them outward and decided the problem wasn't inside him, it was her. The most dangerous people are often those who feel cornered, and Darren felt trapped. But rather than walk away, he convinced himself there was only one way out: eliminate the problem. He twisted reality in his mind to justify the unjustifiable. She trapped me, he might have told himself. I deserve to be free. It's a horrifying example of cognitive distortion, when a person's thoughts become so warped that they can justify even the most monstrous acts. What's most chilling is how emotionless this psychology can be. Darren's so-called love was never real love at all. It was conditional, dependent on Lisa fulfilling his needs, his plans, his version of life. And the moment she made a choice that didn't serve that vision, the mask slipped, revealing not a loving partner, but a man driven by fear, selfishness, and rage. In the end, Darren West didn't try to kill Lisa because he stopped loving her. He did it because he never truly did. Not in the way love is supposed to mean. What he felt was ownership. What he felt was entitlement. And when those things were threatened by a heartbeat he didn't want, his answer was violence. It's a dark reminder of one of the ugliest truths in true crime. Sometimes the most dangerous place a woman can be is in the home of the man who claims to love her most. Thank you for joining Crime Alley Documentaries in remembering Lisa's journey. Please leave any theories or comments you might have for us down below. We're really interested to know what you think about this case.